Switching from the M4 iPad Pro to the brand new iPad mini for the last few months has been a very interesting journey. These two devices are incredibly different and each of them shine in their own way. But if I had to choose just one to stick with, what would it be? I'll break down my thoughts into 3 categories: design, use cases, and value for money to help you decide what iPad is right for you and for me. Starting off with the design, the iPad mini and iPad Pro cater to entirely different needs. The mini is compact, lightweight, and effortlessly portable. It's the kind of device you can just toss into your bag, whip it out during travel, or hold with one hand comfortably while you're reading. Honestly, that's what makes it so charming. It's approachable and fun, almost like a larger iPhone that runs a more capable iPad OS. The size of the display here is 8.3 inches, and it's decently sharp and vibrant from my experience. For casual use, it's perfectly fine, but if you're used to any high refresh rate display in your life on a regular basis, you'll notice the limitations, unfortunately. The mini's 60Hz refresh rate feels less fluid, especially when scrolling or gaming. Its 500 nit brightness also struggles in outdoor settings, in my opinion, making it harder to use in really bright conditions. I've actually found that aspect of brightness on the mini to be very disappointing and something that really does take away from my overall experience. On the other hand, iPad Pros have a completely different presence depending on the size you get. I have both the 11-inch and 13-inch M4 iPad Pro, and the larger 13-inch display is incredibly immersive and offers so much valuable screen real estate. Its size makes it ideal for doing tasks you'd usually find yourself doing on something like a 13-inch MacBook Air. If I was honestly looking for something to be my everything device, I'd really consider something like the 13-inch iPad with a Magic Keyboard. But when you look at something like the 11-inch version, it's almost hitting like a middle ground between the mini and the larger 13-inch iPad Pro that I really love. You get more portability in the design because it's smaller, while not completely doing away with laptop-like capabilities like you would with the iPad mini's smaller form factor. Additionally, both Pro iPads have displays that are far superior to the mini. It's a stunning OLED display that features ProMotion technology with 120Hz refresh rate, which I think is a big deal depending on who you're talking to. If you're like me and you use high refresh rate screens all the time, the iPad mini will just forever feel a little off-putting and slightly laggy. What's important to recognize though is that all of these differences that I'm talking about right now are highly individual to each person, whether one thing matters to you or not. The mini is incredible for all situations that demand the utmost portability, while the Pro iPads starting with the 11-inch give you the flexibility of both size spectrums that I think many people will appreciate, while the 13-inch version of the Pro is huge, but it's for good reason. Like those who really value opportunities to be productive and multitask on iPad, you're gonna love the larger version. Before we continue, I wanna thank MagEasy for partnering with me on this video and sending over their Cover Buddy magnetic iPad case for the new M4 iPad Pro. If you use Apple's Magic Keyboard like I do, you know how hard it is to find a case that works seamlessly with it. The Cover Buddy solves that. It's the only case 100% compatible with the Magic Keyboard, snapping securely onto the iPad without any gaps or fuss. It's perfect for on-the-go productivity, whether I'm working at a coffee shop or just moving around the house. Plus, the graphene thermal technology keeps my iPad cooler during multitasking, and the built-in Apple Pencil holder ensures it's always attached, protected, and charged. With a premium leather finish that's both stylish and durable, the Cover Buddy checks all the boxes. Don't miss their special promo: buy 2, get 20% off site-wide all the way to December 29th, and you can also use my code TARAN8 for 8% off any purchase. Click the link down below to get yours today. Now let's change gears and talk about use cases, as that's really important to think about before you spend your hard-earned money on one of these iPads on the spectrum. From my experience with the iPad mini, I have never seen it as this productivity powerhouse, and that's not a bad thing. Its compact size is a feature, honestly, and I've been drawn to use it for media consumption and even gaming on this new dedicated Razer Kishi Ultra gaming controller that I got in the mail. This setup is crazy cool, unique to only the mini. And if you have 5G like I do on this, you got yourself a pretty darn cool portable internet-enabled gaming setup. Something that is physically impossible to replicate on other Pro iPads. Like, there aren't controllers that exist for those. Oddly enough, I've also grown to find it fun to take notes on the iPad mini. It's kind of hard to explain. I have said on record that I prefer writing on larger iPad screens because it is objectively more comfortable for the hand as there's just more space to rest it. But the compact size of the iPad mini is just awesome. Like, I really did feel this weird yearning to take notes on this tiny little thing because of how small it is and how easy it is to pick up and just throw ideas onto it. It's this feeling that I never quite got on the bigger 13-inch M4 iPad Pro. I know we're getting a little bit philosophical here, but that's been my experience. It's also worth reminding everybody watching this video that if you aren't aware already, there are no official keyboard attachments to the Mini from Apple. It's the only true tablet that Apple sells where it's not trying to be like anything else. It's just an iPad wanting to be an iPad and not trying to be like a MacBook replacement. Whereas with the iPad Pro, both the 11 and 13-inch can thrive on being productivity machines that can replace people's laptops depending on your workflow when you pair it with something like the Magic Keyboard. I really like the experience on iPad when it comes to using it like a laptop, to be honest, even though it's far from perfect, like it's actually quite far from it, but there's just something fun and magical and unique about doing laptop productivity stuff on an iPad that you just can't quite capture in a MacBook. Again, it's one of those like philosophical things that you can't really explain. You just sort of have to own this device to really get what I mean. However, what I will say though is that when I reflect on using an iPad mini for the last about 2 months now, and not the Pro as kind of an experiment, I have to admit, I didn't miss the Magic Keyboard experience of my Pro, which is kind of interesting, right? And it's not because it's a bad experience, but it's because I already have a MacBook that filled the shoes of the iPad Pro that I wasn't using anymore. That's something that you should really consider, to be honest, before you make your purchase. Like, if you already own a laptop, which I presume most of you do, is the iPad Pro plus the Magic Keyboard combo compelling enough for you to use it more than your current computer, or even more enough to retire it? It's so workflow dependent and only a question that you can answer depending on the apps and things that you need to do. If we zoom out though, using an iPad with a keyboard is not the only reason why people buy Pro iPads. There's a whole world of artists and note takers that love just having a larger canvas that you get with the Pro. They love the smoother ProMotion display for writing and drawing, and some appreciate the better color accuracy you get out of an OLED panel. All things that you just cannot get with an iPad mini. The one thing both iPads do share, however, is the same Apple Pencil support, including Apple's latest Pro version, where you get access to squeeze and other neat gestures, and the fact that I actually can't really tell the difference in battery life between both of these devices, the Pro and the Mini. They both feel like they last a somewhat similar amount of time, and it's just more so comes down to what I ended up doing that day on each device. Apple themselves quote the iPads to be both around 8 to 10 hours of mixed usage, even with the size differences at play, which is just a very interesting outcome. Now let's move on to value for money, as that's where I think you can take two really different perspectives depending on how you approach it. If you look at it from a pure dollar perspective, it's extremely easy to see that the iPad mini is by a mile the best value iPad for most people. It starts at $499, making it far cheaper than the Pro, and it's actually the cheapest device in all of Apple's new lineup that has full access to Apple Intelligence features, which may matter to some of you. And it's not trying to be anything other than a tablet, which is refreshing for a device that has a clear purpose of just wanting to be an iPad. On the other hand, you can see value as the summation of all things a device can do for you and its flexibility to adapt to your needs as they change over time. That's where I think the iPad mini falls short. It can never become your laptop computer. It will always just be a singular purpose tablet. Whereas the Pro iPads provide the flexibility to adapt to be both a great tablet and a decent computer, especially if you opt for the 11-inch, where I think that provides the sweet spot of both ends of the spectrum in terms of size, while still maintaining the great specs of a high refresh rate and an OLED panel. And that's where the higher starting price begins to make more sense. The Pro iPads can just do more for you across a wider range of situations. But regardless of this, let's make one thing extremely clear. iPad Pros are still expensive no matter how you square it. It starts at $999 for the 11-inch. Throw in an expensive Magic Keyboard, upgrade the storage if you need to, maybe toss in an Apple Pencil Pro, and now your wallet is screaming at you at how expensive this purchase is becoming. Through it all though, if I had to choose one iPad to keep forever, the Mini or the Pro, if I have the budget to spare, I'd always choose the Pro every time. The screen technology of the Mini is just a deal breaker for me, and I love the flexibility and adaptability that an iPad Pro offers. If I was to choose a specific size, I'd personally go with a 13-inch because I love big screens and I don't mind the compromise of weight and a little bit of loss of portability. But I think if you want my general recommendation, I would say the vast majority of you watching will love the 11-inch, as that's a happy medium for the iPad Pro. But again, this doesn't mean I don't like the smaller iPad Mini. It is arguably, or it is actually, the most charming device that Apple sells. And it's an incredible iPad for anyone looking for maximum portability and a truly unique tablet experience that you just can't find anywhere else. Not even on Android. They don't sell like comparable miniature tablets that are really powerful like the ones that Apple sells. So what would you choose at the end of the day? Would you go Pro or would you go Mini? I'd love to know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Comment hashtag I made it if you did finish this video. Subscribe if you're brand new to my channel, and I'll talk to all of you guys in the next one. Peace.